2022 meeting of the Southampton Town Zoning Board of Appeals. This meeting is being held live and is also being held via video conferencing in accordance with the Town Board's enactment of Local Law Number 14 of 2022, adopted on May 24th, 2022. Our next meeting and those following will be held in person here at Town Hall and will also continue to allow for remote participation. So we ask you to continually check the town's website for updates and any new information. If you wish to view tonight's live meeting only, please do not join the Zoom meeting and instead go to the town's website. With that, I'd ask that you join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before I continue with what I'm reading out, I just wanted to mention we had a loss today in the town of Southampton, the loss of our police chief, Chief Skrinecki, and I just wanted to wish all the best to his family and co-workers for what I understand was a sudden loss, and was very sorry to hear of this news. For those of you here with us tonight, in case of an emergency evacuation, please exit through the rear doors of this room to one of these staircases across the hall and continue downstairs and out through the main entrance. Please do not attempt to use the elevators during an emergency evacuation. In case of a medical emergency, the automated external defibrillator and first aid kit are both located in the hallway on this floor opposite the elevator. Restrooms are located across the hall. We will be starting this meeting with the public hearings. We have applicants and members of the public here with us live and also standing by via Zoom webinar, which is being moderated by CTV. Please silence your cell phones and refrain from speaking to one another in the boardroom as it interferes with our recording equipment. Tonight, we also have board member Helen Burgess participating remotely. CTV will mute the speakers on Zoom until it is their time to give testimony before the board. Please be patient. If you find that you are having difficulties accessing the hearings, please visit the town clerk's meeting portal and click on the instructions link. A reminder that applicants, agents, and members of the public speaking, other than attorneys, will be sworn in, will state their address for the record, and will offer their testimony as it relates to the application before the board. Unless otherwise stated at the end of each hearing, all of these applications will remain open for written comments for all purposes until a date to be announced after the hearing. Those comments can be addressed to the board secretary, Candace, and sent via email, mail, and/or dropped off at Town Hall. And what we're doing in terms of written submissions, the deadline for written submissions for public hearings tonight is for most of the applications is going to be October 21st at end of business, and the decisions will be on November 3rd. With that, I'd ask for a motion to approve the minutes of our last meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Tuthill.
Aye.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Mr. Macedonio.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, minutes are approved. And now on to adjournments.
Okay, we do have some adjournments. First thing is item 6 on the agenda, which is 911 Flanders Road LLC. We're going to adjourn that to our January 19th, 2023 meeting.
Second.
Mr. Tuthill.
Aye.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Mr. Macedonio.
Aye.
Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. I just want to mention for members of the public, this application, the 911 Flanders Road LLC application, is in the SECRA, or environmental review, part of the process, which is the reason for the adjournment request.
Item 7 on the agenda is Ivan Paskov, 11 North Shore Road in Hampton Bays. That's going to be, I'm going to move to adjourn that to our October 20th meeting.
Second.
Mr. Tuthill.
Aye.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Mr. Macedonio.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess. Chair votes aye.
All right, then the following decisions are going to be put off to our October 20th meeting, which is 547 Dune Road LLC. Robert Lenowitz, Brandon Haig, and Christina Ferrugia, I think, and Grace Amas Clark, Lee Skolnick, Dula Patel, and that's it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Did we get 547 Dune Road in that one?
I did, that's
Yes,
the
you
first
did.
one I got.
Okay, excellent. Okay.
I will also move, when it comes to Kai Sturman and Mary T. Ryan up in Flanders, I'm going to move to reopen that hearing to accept written submission.
Second.
Mr. Tudhill.
Aye.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Mr. Macedonio.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess. Chair votes aye, reopened.
All right, now I'll move to close it for a determination later this evening.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
And Scott Slachter, I'll move to reopen to accept written submissions.
Second.
Mr. Tudhill.
Aye.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Mr. Macedonio.
Aye.
Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess. Chair votes aye, reopened.
And I'll move to close for a determination later this evening.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
All right, that being done, we go back to the beginning of the agenda. Item 1 on the agenda this evening is 35 Montauk Highway Property LLC, 35 Montauk Highway in Watermill, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-133-1-7.1. Applicant requests relief in the following provisions of the town code for an additional showroom by way of enclosing an existing roof overhang. Town Code 330-105K schedules of minimum and maximum floor area to allow the gross floor area of an existing building to be increased to 31,803.16 square feet, where a maximum of 15,000 square feet is permitted in the Highway Business Zoning District. Approximately 29,637.71 square feet is existing, and any other relief necessary.
For this jurisdiction, yes, that's Mike.
Good evening.
How are you?
I'm doing okay.
Everybody good?
Yep.
Yes. Tara S. Hakimi, Esquire, 30 Main Street, Southampton, New York, 10968. I'm here on behalf of the applicant this evening. So, first off, I just wanted to point out that the applicant is here this evening, Mr. Jay Decker. He's the general manager, and he's seated in the audience in the event there are any questions. So, as Keith said, Mr. Fedel said, the property is 35 Montauk Highway in Watermill. It's 97,183 square feet. It's zoned highway business and therefore commercial. It's approximately 2.2 acres. Currently, there's a 2-story structure on the property, which has a auto showroom, an auto service shop, and offices on the first floor. It also has offices on the second floor. The total square footage of both floors combined is equal to the 27,990. The existing first floor is 23,742 square feet. The existing second floor is 4,248 square feet. There is a roofed overhang carport on the east side of the structure. If you guys take a look at the survey and the plans, it's equivalent to 2,165 square feet. It's currently there. Since it's an existing structure and is more than 15,000 square feet, this is the reason 15,000 square feet as the structure itself, I'm before this board this evening to seek zoning relief as required by the Southampton Town Code. We're before the board because we'd like to enclose this roof carport, which again is 2,165 square feet already there, in order to use it as an additional auto showroom area. I was at the property today and I took some pictures, which I thought was, I don't know I know Mike, you've seen it, but
Yep.
I figure it would help to see it.
How do you know? Were you there when I was driving around?
No, I wasn't. I just know that
I pass it every day.
there's just one, same copy? It's all the same. Okay. Yep. I just think it's helpful to be able to see the space that's there. There's 2 cars currently underneath it. I also want the board to note that the property permits 30% building coverage, which is 29,154.90. Currently, the existing coverage is 28.16%, which is 27,375.16. Enclosing the overhang carport, since it currently is there, will not change the lot coverage. Everybody has the photograph, so you can have an illustration to see what is there. Just some history on the property. There have been 4 variances granted on this property. In 1981, property was granted a special exception to use the property as a motor vehicle sales room. 1983, it was granted to put both signs in the locations as requested. In 1986, it was granted permission to change the sign with a new dimension because the signs got larger. And lastly, in 1988, the property was granted permission for ground identification. There's a valid CO issued from 1982 and updated with the expansion in 2005. And then the last piece, I just want to go through the 4-prong test for the board. I don't believe the requested relief will create any undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood since the overhang carport already exists, and we're simply just asking to enclose to make better use of the space. There are no other means or method for the owner to enclose this carport since the commercial structure is greater than 15,000 square feet. This variance is not substantial in nature as the carport and the overhang exist in fact, and enclosing this area will permit the owner to use the space in a more beneficial manner in displaying motor vehicles. And lastly, enclosing the carport will not adversely affect the neighborhood, as again, it only is going to benefit the owner and won't detrimentally affect any of the neighboring properties. And to date, I've not heard from any of the neighbors.
Are all the neighbors commercial properties or some of them residences?
I had to notice, I noticed mostly commercial properties.
Okay.
Yeah.
Appears that way.
Yeah, I think it's
Most of the
totally,
properties,
yeah.
I think,
Yeah.
I mean,
that.
patio.com.
Right.
Right,
And
right.
the other
The
cars.
other car dealership.
Yeah.
Audi dealer.
Yeah, I have copies of all my notices, but I think probably 8 out of the 9 were commercial.
Okay, okay. I only asked the question because a residential property, in my view, I can't imagine a commercial property being impacted by this. Maybe
Right.
a residential property, but in any case, I figured I'd ask the question.
Right.
But I understand, this application is to enclose an overhang that presently exists.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see if there's anybody amongst the neighbors that is here that has a concern about it. From my perspective, I'm not terribly concerned about it impacting the neighbors, but we'll see what anybody has to say.
Is the overhang just on one side or it goes around the corner too?
It doesn't, it does go to the back, Jay, does it not?
Does it go around the corner or does it side?
Yeah, Jay, I just have to
You can
swear
go
you
to the
in.
podium and swear in, if you'd like, or sit up here.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening. If you can just state your name and address for the record.
Jay Decker, 3 High Ridge Road, East Hampton, New York.
And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the
I
truth?
certainly do.
Okay, yeah, if you can answer Bob's question, that would be great.
I see this part here, does it go
Right.
around the side too?
This side over here, there's
It's a driveway, isn't there?
it's an overhang on the driveway, but it's on the west side.
Are you enclosing that as well?
Yeah, that was my question.
Yes,
Are you
yes,
gonna
we
close
would
that as
like
well?
to do that, yes. You can actually see, it's part of the number.
Okay.
Look at the survey
You
too,
can
where the
actually see
overhang
part right
is
over here,
on both sides.
looking out the side. Actually, that picture.
This is an
Aerial.
aerial. I don't know how helpful that would be. Yeah.
That
Yeah,
front
so this
picture
is the
doesn't
This is the
capture.
overhang in the front, and this is the overhang on the west side.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
have no problem.
Where is this?
I got no problem with it.
Yeah,
We've done
yeah.
this before.
I'm sorry, where did you say the overhang is? I couldn't see it on this.
On the survey.
So it
want-
goes
you want the
here
area?
and,
Yeah, this is the front of the building?
yeah, no, and this is the overhang?
Yes, and then this is that small one on the other side.
And so are you going to attach them?
No.
Oh, okay.
You leave them just the way they are, just enclose them.
Oh, okay, so you're not squaring it off
No,
like
ma'am.
that? Okay, that makes it much easier.
Yeah, yeah.
I have a couple of things. Number one, I was by the property today, and I didn't notice a notice sign up in front of the
We
property.
put it up, it's been gone up 3 or 4 times.
It was,
I've
When?
had to get, yeah, I got 2 from
If you look at
Candace.
The front telephone pole, you see 2 screws with some white plastic on.
Yeah, I
That
took
was the last one
pictures
that
too.
came
We had
and
some
I
weather problems,
Posted
too.
them, I mean, it was,
This
I
weekend's
was chasing them down Montauk Highway, yeah. it
was horrible,
Yeah,
yeah,
it was
okay.
interesting.
Yeah, I noticed the same thing.
Yeah, number two, I'm never in favor of what I consider to be variance creep, where we're giving variances on places we've given variances
Yeah.
before. However, I see this is not going to change the footprint of the building,
Right.
and this is also consistent, not that precedence is the thing that drives our decisions, but this is consistent with decisions we've made on other properties, similar properties, so. I don't have a problem with it.
Thank you.
It also looks like the prior variances were for signs.
Yeah, it was,
Yeah.
that's why
There's
I
like three
actually,
for signs and then one for like a special exception use allowing.
to use
Right.
it, that's why I put it, I figured to say it on the record, just so the
Sure,
board's aware. These weren't for major structural
Correct.
relief.
Correct.
And this is just, I guess, for your business to be able to have a little bit more space, is that?
Yes,
that-
so the showroom used to be the BMW showroom, and then 10 years ago, they moved it around the corner next to the coffee shop. So that's too small a building. So they're putting it back in this building and with the requirements that the manufacturers possess now about how many cars they want on the floor and how much space they want in between. And it will clean it up, it'll really much nicer looking when it's done, when it's, glass and all re-stuccoed and everything else, it'll be a much nicer building.
Okay.
Which will match the building next door.
Can I just ask the board, in terms of the size relative to the building? I mean, it's a sizable building, 30,000 square feet plus, right? So, I mean, in terms of, 15,000 allowable, is that a concern? Has that been a concern in the past for the board?
It already exists.
It-
It
I
already
understand it
But I
exists.
mean, that's the analysis the board
If
usually
we,
makes.
if we had a proposed structure, nothing built. that-
It
we-
exists, but it's
we-
not enclosed. I mean, I understand that it's
right.
covered, but it's not enclosed. So
Yeah.
I'm
But
just
it already
asking,
exceeds the 15,000
You're only enclosing it.
I know, but I mean, if something exceeds
21,655.
15 and then you add on to it, I'm just asking the question.
Yeah,
And-
well, I mean, if it were a proposed where nothing was on the property, it was vacant land, I think we could have a interesting discussion as to how big we want these kinds of commercial businesses to be. I will also say that any applicant or an agent or an attorney for an applicant is going to say, well, we handled other commercial properties by granting variances at times, and I suspect in the vicinity. That doesn't mean that we're bound to grant any application that comes before us at all.
This is just double the amount.
But this is increasing the nonconformity.
Yeah, it is,
It
yeah.
absolutely
And
is.
it's not, I don't really necessarily have a problem with it, but I just wanted to point that out, that this is a rather large building, and it exceeds the 15,000 square feet. Almost,
Already.
it's doubled,
Yeah.
yeah.
If I was adding to the
Valid
building, I'd
conversation.
agree with you, 1,000%, but if it just enclosing
Yeah,
is already.
yeah. No, and that's why I have no problem with it, but I just wanted to,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
wanted to raise that as an issue.
Yep. Okay, good. And thank you.
Much nicer.
Yep.
Much-
Okay.
Much nicer.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So have two beautiful buildings right next to each other now.
Okay.
The Audi building we did, now this will be all nice too, so.
Any other questions? Is there anyone from the public who's here this evening who's waiting to be heard in connection with this application, which is the application of Decker for property, let me see, for property located at 35 Montauk Highway in Watermill. Actually, the applicant is 35 Montauk Highway Property LLC. If there's anyone to be heard, you can come on up. Okay, if not, I wanted to ask if there was anyone who's waiting to be heard on Zoom in connection with this application who would like to be heard. This again is the application of 35 Montauk Highway Property LLC for property located at 35 Montauk Highway in Watermill. If you are waiting to be heard on Zoom, this would be the time to let us know by raising your hand.
No one on Zoom.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. I know we were dealing with SECRA, so where are we with that?
Well, we have to coordinate, and we have to coordinate with the planning board and the Suffolk County Department of Health Services. Anthony thinks the planning board will probably want to have lead agency on this. And we have to give 30 days for lead agency, for everybody to coordinate, but I don't think it probably won't take that long because it's only planning and Suffolk County Department of Health Services. So I think maybe we could put it on for November 3rd to do the lead agency. And by then, like I said, we could even prompt the Suffolk County Department of Health Services, and they're not going to want to be lead agency. So then we could put it on for lead agency determination on the 3rd if we hear from both of them.
Yep,
And then we can take it from there.
yeah, okay,
I've been in touch with planning as well.
okay.
Are we noticing any problems with the email system being hacked with the county delaying anything?
I don't know. We've been getting referrals back.
No,
from the
but
county,
nobody
right,
knows.
Ann?
Nobody knows.
I
Yeah,
haven't done any referrals to the county.
Yeah.
Oh, no, planning commission, I have.
yeah.
They just started to let,
Oh, yeah.
contingencies-
No, things are starting to work again, but they're not back to normal by any stretch. But anyway, that's neither here nor there, so if it turns out that they're
Well, we'll
delayed,
just
they're
mail
delayed.
it.
Actually, you know what, no, I haven't.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I haven't got my responses yet.
really.
Okay,
interesting.
so it's
Yeah,
11-3 for that.
Yeah.
11-3 for lead agency,
We'll put it on for
so,
all purposes for 11-3,
yep,
just so we can touch base.
yep, okay. All right, Mike, it is yours.
Okay, thank you. We will continue this for all purposes for November 3rd.
Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate the time.
Second.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening.
Do we have a
Second.
second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Daly,
Aye.
Ms. Kern,
Aye.
Ms. Burgess, Mr. Macedonio,
Aye.
Mr. Tudhill,
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Have a good evening.
Good night, Eddie.
All right, item 2 on the agenda is Timothy and Christina Polenko, 16 Island View Drive West, Noyak, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-23-1-29. Applicant requests relief from Town Code 330-84D, pyramid height, for a pyramid encroachment of 106 cubic feet on the east side of the property for a proposed second-story addition over a garage that is attached to an existing dwelling on a non-conforming lot and any other relief necessary.
The board has jurisdiction? Has that-
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, always good to see you. For the applicant, Carl Benacasa, 860 Montauk Highway, Watermill, New York. This lot is lot 98 on the map of Rolling Hills Estate, Section 3, which was filed July 28th of 1967, map number 4917. It's a single and separate lot. It was conforming in 68 when it was last held in common ownership, so it's single and separate and meets all the standards for treatment accordingly. The relief we're asking today is very slight. We are asking for minimal pyramid relief. If you look to the survey in front of you, you'll see that the home is proposed to have a second-story addition to the...
Our sound system has a little bit of stuff going on, but it's okay. Hopefully it's working, we'll
A
see.
second-story addition to accommodate this young, growing family. They just added their most recent a few months ago. And this is to add space, living space for that family. In order to do that, they needed to put an addition above the existing garage. It complies with all setbacks. It complies with lot coverage. The one thing it does not is comply with is pyramid relief. But it's very minimal, and you'll see on the site plan,
De minimis.
de minimis, it's 106 cubic feet. I can tell you that there are other lots in the neighborhood that have similar bulking at or near the side yard, specifically 30 Breezy is within 16.5 feet. 61 Island View is within 19 feet of the side yard. This is a two-story structure. 6 Island View is within 10 feet of the side yard. So, it's de minimis in nature. It is not substantial. Accordingly, it is in the character of the neighborhood. And given the limited relief, I don't think I need to say much more.
Okay. Have you heard from any of the neighbors?
Yes.
Okay.
Next door neighbor is strongly supportive.
Okay. All right. Any questions, members of the board? Is there anyone from the public who is here in person who would like to be heard in connection with this application, which is the application of Polenko for property located at 16 Island View Drive West in Noyak? Is there anyone who is waiting to be heard on Zoom in connection with this application, which again is the application of Polenko for property located at 16 Island View Drive West in Noyak? If you are waiting to be heard on Zoom, this would be the time to let us know by raising your hand. No one on Zoom? Okay. All right, if not, I will move that we close the application for all purposes this evening, except for written submissions. The deadline for written submissions is October 21st at end of business, and we will have a decision ready at our November 3rd meeting.
Second.
Mr. Macedonio?
Aye.
Mr. Daly?
Aye.
Mr. Tudhill?
Aye.
Ms. Burgess? Ms. Kern?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thanks so much, Carl.
Thank you all.
Yep, all right, thanks, have a good night.
Item 3 on the agenda is Danielle Russo and Alexander Wright, 14 Bayview Road North in North Sea, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-28-1-41. Applicant requests relief from Town Code 330-6, General Regulations, that references Town Code 330-11, Residence District Table of Dimensional Regulations, for an accessory rear yard setback from the required 10 feet to 7.1 feet to maintain an existing swimming pool constructed without the benefit of a building permit on a non-conforming lot and any other relief necessary.
Board has jurisdiction. Can you pass it to Susan?
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. How are you?
Delightful.
Heather Hunt, for the applicants, 30 Main Street, Southampton, New York. I'm here tonight with Danielle Russo and Alexander Wright. They purchased their home in December of 2021. The property is in the R15 zoning district. It's non-conforming at 7,884 square feet when 15,000 is required. The home appears to have been, well, the home was built in 94, 95. From what I can tell by aerial photos, and I could only go back to the 96 aerials in GIS were no good, but 2001 clearly showed the pool. When I say pool, it's small. It's 110 square feet. It's not your typical. It's not a 16 by 30 or 20 by 40. It's more, and it's. We think it's fairly shallow, although we're not entirely sure. But it's more like a plunge pool. Looks like it went in sometime between 1995 and 2001.
But they didn't purchase this till 21, right?
Correct.
So it was purchased with the pool there?
Yes.
The prior
Did you
owner?
represent him?
Right.
I did, we were aware. So when we found out that there were a number of nonconformities at this property, some seller took care of, and the rest we're dealing with. But we're trying to bring a property that has had substantial nonconformities for many years. It looks like the property was traded a couple times with the pool in existence before. We're trying to take the time and spend the money to bring this property into compliance. And look, I've been here many times. I understand that the board does not condone the installation of structures without permits. I've heard you say it many times, and I've advised my clients of that. But I think in this case, we believe a variance is warranted. First of all, we can look at the 5-part test, right? The character of the neighborhood. Obviously, this pool is relatively small compared to what would, a standard-sized pool. It's shielded by a stockade fence. I mean, it's been in this location for 21 plus years. And it's, far away and behind this house that's going up. I have some aerial photographs that I can you jump ahead of that? That shows there's a new construction going up, and that would be the lot that would be most impacted by the location of the pool. And you can see the stockade fence, and then what will be their backyard clearly would block any sort of visibility from the pool.
The original.
My clients have had the basement legalized. They're working for a permit to get the outdoor shower, get an outdoor shower. They had it removed when it was not legal, when we found out about that in contract. And they have upgraded the septic system because they learned that the septic system where it was too close to the existing pool. So they have now, it's done, and a new septic system is installed in the front of the house. But what they didn't bargain for was the cost of removing this structure entirely, and also the cost of a brand new pool, right? Prices have gone up like crazy everywhere. They spent a ton of money already on, what they've done so far. And so it would be more feasible for them if we could just utilize what's there and, have a small but, usable pool there. This is the first-time home buyers that, have a 1-year-old and 4-year-old. This is their primary residence. So at some point, the costs become astronomical, and with the thought of spending $25,000, which is the estimate we have to kind of remove this whole thing, and then obviously the cost associated with putting in a new pool.
The 25 is to remove the existing pool?
Yeah, yes. So that's
That's
why
what,
we're
that's what it
here.
used to
You wanna-
cost
you
to
wanna
put a pool
submit
in. Yeah.
Yeah, I will, I believe I emailed it, but I brought a copy to put into the record.
Okay, yeah.
It's, gunite. Yeah, yes,
And that does not include construction of a new.
no, does not,
That's where the cost is, just get rid of it and call it, break up the concrete.
right.
Is
So,
it a gunite pool?
yes.
I don't have a problem with it.
I don't have a problem with it.
They didn't put it there. You know what I mean?
Not self-created.
You know,
I actually went to the site and I saw it. It's a very, very small pool. It's, it's like a pea-shaped, like a bean-shaped pool. It's got a stockered fence, like you said, and the property behind it that's being built, it looks like it's their, driveway, or it's behind the garage of the house behind it. So I don't have a problem with this application.
So I just want to say a couple of things. First of all, I don't have a problem with the application either overall. But I just want to mention a couple of things about as-bills. So luckily, the actual relief that's being requested is 3 feet. That is basically set with 7.1 instead of 10 feet. If this were like right on the property line, we probably would have a much bigger issue.
problem.
Because it would have a significant impact, could have a significant impact on the neighbors. And the purpose of setbacks is to have neighbors not be staring at each other as they're using their properties. That having been said, the fact that you are here to try to legalize, and you bought this property and you've dealt with all these other issues along the way, is something I appreciate. That you're trying to do this, and you have Heather helping you to do this. And you've inherited this issue from the seller. Yes, you knew going in, I guess, before the closing, that this was going to be an issue and you'd have to come before us. But you're trying to remedy a situation that is not of your own making. So that's a factor in my view as well. Anyway, but I just want to say for those people who might be watching who are thinking, I have an as-built structure, what should I do? It all depends on the severity of the structure as to how out of conformity it is. Luckily, this one isn't that out of conformity. We'll see if there are any neighbors that have anything to say to us about this.
Yes.
Yeah.
The color of the water is.
No, we
It's
were
filled.
concerned
Filled it in.
about safety, so they had it filled in and wood planks put across
Oh,
it
okay.
so that
Yeah.
kids wouldn't fall. It's completely filled in right now.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Wood, that's wood on top?
I
Yeah,
was
Okay,
thinking,
no, that makes
why
sense.
would you want to keep that? pool?
Yeah. So now they're going to have to, if it's approved, then they're going to have to take all that out, everything out.
Too much.
This is another
The whole
cost.
neighborhood.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Break your neck.
Okay, so any other questions?
They cheapen heat, though.
Okay. Is there anyone who is in the audience here in connection with the application of Russo and Wright? This is for property located at 14 Bayview Road North in North Sea. Is there anyone who is waiting to be heard on Zoom in connection with the application of Russo and Wright for property at 14 Bayview Road North in North Sea? If you're waiting to be heard on Zoom, this would be the time to let us know by raising your hand. Okay. If not, Susan, it is yours.
Okay, so we're going to close the public hearing. We're going to hold it open for written comments to be done by 10/21, October 21st, with a decision on November 3rd.
Second.
Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess. Mr. Macedonio.
Aye.
Mr. Tudhill.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you all for being here.
thank you very much.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
See you, Hannah.
Good luck with the home.
Yeah.
Still easy in the school board meetings, huh?
Item 4 on the agenda is Gary Podhazer, 9 Sunset Avenue in East Quogue, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-360-2-33. Applicant requests relief from Town Code 330-6, general regulations that references Town Code 330-11, Residence Districts Table of Dimensional Regulations for an accessory side yard setback from the required 20 feet to 11.3 feet to maintain an existing bocce court constructed in the rear yard without the benefit of a building permit on a non-conforming lot and any other relief necessary.
Board has jurisdiction.
Okay, good evening. If you can just state your name and address for the record.
Yes, Michelle Quattrali, agent for the applicant, 100 Colonial Drive, East Patch Road, New York.
And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the
I
truth?
do.
Okay, thank you. If you can tell us about the application.
Yes. The Potsheimers had purchased this property in 2012, and in 2016, they put in a bocce court, not knowing that there had to be restrictions on side yard setbacks for something that's so low-lying. It's been there for 6 years. There's no impact to any of the neighbors. It can't be seen from the road. I have spoken to Mr. Di Benedetto, who is at 7 Sunset, the neighbor who would be mostly affected, and he has no problems whatsoever with it. He didn't even know it existed in these 6 years. My client has put in green giant arborvitaes on that western property boundary, so it definitely has noise reduction and/or privacy for both neighbors. It's, in my opinion, it's a minimal variance to grant. I know it's 46% relief, but it's a very low-lying structure. It cost just about $5,000 to put it in 2016. I'm sure the cost now is probably at least another few $1,000s more, and then the cost to remove it. And I think in my opinion, the benefits keeping it where it has no impact on anyone would outweigh the cost to my client. Do you have any questions?
All right, so the owner didn't know that they needed permits for it.
Correct.
Okay, so.
I know you feel very
is-
badly when somebody, has a problem with that.
Okay, so is the owner here able to give us testimony?
No, he is not.
Okay.
No. I am acting as agent, and if you have any questions, I'll entertain them.
Okay, well, what I will tell you is, the application that we had just heard, there was no testimony to be given about the as-built structure because it was built before they bought it. So we knew that they didn't have any information. In this situation, the applicant could testify, describe kind of what happened as to how this structure went up.
I could
And-
say this on behalf of Mr. Podheiser. The reason why this came up is because he is now doing work, and we found out while we're doing the permit process, getting the plans and all the landscaping design and all that, that this structure needed a permit. J. Ratto Landscaping didn't know that it needed a permit 6 years ago. The homeowner didn't know. It was more of an oops.
When you say structure, what's it actually?
It's actually 2x4s with sand.
I'm just-
That's all,
that's my
and that's why you would not think that it would need a permit.
Yeah.
It's not a big historical structure.
Yeah.
I do have pictures of it if you'd like to see.
Yeah.
I think I handed some in.
Yeah, so the board has, we just have to figure out, I think, here what we're gonna do, because, Michelle, generally, when we have as-built structures, we want someone to come in to explain what happened. So, but this is, it may be that the members of the board will consider this differently because it's a bocce court and not a pool or a garage, or tennis court, but it is an as-built structure without permits. So the question is whether we want to have further explanation as to how this went up without permits, or whether you're satisfied with
I would
what the
like to
agent said.
see the cost estimates for removal, if you have those.
I have an email from J. Ratto, which is the landscape
Landscaper.
designer. And they said, without figuring out exactly, I'd say that it costs them about $4,775.
Okay, so you're going to submit that as
Yes.
part of your written
And
submissions?
When
You
they
wanna see the
purchased,
picture?
when they
Okay.
actually constructed it.
Yeah, I'm inclined to not be in favor of this. If Mr. Podheiser would like to come to a meeting, the next meeting, and talk to us about it, then I'd be willing to listen, but I'm not inclined to support this. Approving this.
I don't have a problem with it. I don't see any reason to bring him in for a public flogging.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's right on, looks like it's right on the border
It's
of the...
11.3.
It's 11.3.
It's
You
just
got the
the
arborvitae in the way.
landscaping is
Oh,
very
okay, so
lush.
the arborvitaes
Yes,
are
the
like,
giant green arborvitae,
Okay,
they're
so-
very
Which are gonna
lush.
get fuller and fuller.
Yes,
okay.
I have no problem with it.
thank you.
So that's two. And I don't know
And I
whether
don't
you.
need to hear from
and
him
you-
because he's gonna tell us.
Yes,
everything
and you
he
just,
can.
and you just need four. The reason that we, I have advocated over the years to have people come in with as-built is because we really want people to explain to us why they
Right.
built things without permits. And I can understand, okay, it's a bocce court, it isn't a tennis court. I can understand that there may have been some confusion. I think sometimes with sheds, there's confusion because you can have sheds without getting permits, if it's in a conforming location. But it just concerns me when we have people building structures without permits.
Concerns
Can you ask
me too.
Helen how she vote?
Yep.
Can I just add?
No, I agree with them, it does concern building structures, but this, I
Yes,
understand.
this is just 2x4s with dirt.
But
And
then he should just move it to a conforming
Yes, but
location.
but
If
it's
it's just
60
digging
feet
it up.
long, there's an awful lot of. it's-
Thousands of
it's-
dollars.
Yes, it's $1,000.
I know, but
thousands of
it's,
dollars.
there's a reason why there's 20-foot setbacks for these things.
As I stated, the neighbor, right, that's mostly affected, Mr. DiBenedetto, didn't even know it existed until I sent him this notice, this letter.
Okay, well,
he's
my,
never-
my sentiments stand. I'm not in favor of it unless Mr. Podheiser would like to come in and explain to us. Then I'd be willing to listen, but I'm only one.
Well, I think it would also be his landscaper if you were,
No, I
Because,
would like
yes.
Mr. Podheiser to come in,
okay, the owner.
and he can bring whoever he wants. But that's just, I'm just one of.
Yeah. I have less
6.
problem with a bocce court than I do with a tennis court or, a basketball court or anything else, because I think the noise level is substantially less.
Correct.
And it's very low to the ground. I don't have a big problem with this, so I appreciate the fact that we like to make it difficult on people who build things without permits, and there has to be some accountability for that. So, if board members feel really strongly about having somebody come in, I can't imagine that they're going to make him move it, but I don't know.
Helen, do you have any thoughts about this?
Yeah, I agree with Michael. Something is, it's hard to believe
No one on Zoom.
gentlemen didn't have any, he could have at least called the village for. I mean, it's not a big deal, make a phone call. So, I have concern. So, that's my.
Okay, all right.
He comes in, he says something that can make me change my mind. But the fact that he didn't even show up today on something that was done without him, it gives me something.
I did not advise him to come, so it was my error,
Okay,
not Mr. Podheiser's.
all right. So Helen, you'd like to see him come in. Mike would like to see him come in. I would like to see him come in.
Well, you got
So,
3 people who
that's-
want to
Okay with
see
it,
him
but
come
they want
in.
him to come in, let's have
So you need 4
What
to
do
be
we
able to.
accomplish by the guy coming in?
nothing, but
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What are we gonna accomplish?
There's a possibility
What are we gonna
he
hear
might-
when you're
Don't look at me, I'm not asking for it, so.
public flogging?
She's thinking maybe she could get him on Zoom if you want to try to second call it while we take the next
Would
application.
you?
You could try to do that?
Try.
Sure.
he'll have the link, his computer, all that.
I'm not sure.
Okay, we'll get a second call. No problem.
Just give me five minutes.
Of course, well, what we'll do is we're going to call the next one and,
Okay.
yeah, okay.
All right, item 5 on the agenda is Drazy's Farm LLC, 674 Scuttle Hole Road, Watermill, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-67-1-6.6. Applicant requests relief from the following provisions of the town code for a proposed 55 by 110 sunken tennis court. 330-11, residential districts table of dimensional regulations for an accessory distance from street, front yard setback of 60 feet where 90 feet is required, and 2, 330-76D, placement of accessory buildings, structures, and uses in all districts, and 330-83C, yards, to allow the proposed tennis court to be located within the required front yard for the principal dwelling and any other relief necessary.
Board has jurisdiction.
Good evening, just have to swear you in unless you're an attorney.
I'm an attorney.
Okay, then I have to swear you in.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board and council. My name is Denise Shern. I'm an attorney at the Adam Miller Group, 2462 Main Street in Bridgehampton, New York. And I'm standing in tonight for Brian Locasio, who unfortunately is just under the weather. So taking his place for the evening, representing the applicant. I just would like to hand out a small packet for each of you that might make it a little bit easier as I just running through the facts of the case. This is a unique property in the sense that it is a building envelope on a larger parcel of land that is an agricultural parcel of land where the development rights were purchased. So the applicant actually owns approximately 70-plus acres of land in this area, but the majority of it, except for the lot that you see in front of you, is agricultural land, which can't be used for residential structures. So the survey that you have in front of you is the area of the parcel that can be used for building the home that exists there today and the swimming pool that's there as well. The reason that we're before you is that the way this house was built on the lot, it was built right up against the line that bifurcates it from the agricultural area of the property. So what has resulted is that there is technically no backyard on this property anymore because you can't build behind the house. So anything that you build on the structure, on the property, either needs to be next to the house or in front of the house. And as you'll see, there's already looks like a small pool house that's slightly in front of the house. The application this evening is to install a sunken tennis court also in the front yard of the property, which would require a variance from your code, and setback 60 feet from Scuttle Hill Road, where 90 feet would be the required setback. So we're seeking a 30-foot variance with regard to the tennis court. The tennis court will be sunken 3 feet. You'll see in the packet that I handed out, I believe it's the last document, there is an aerial photograph and also some pictures. The picture that you'll see is taken from directly across the street, and you'll notice that the area that we're talking about where the tennis court would be installed is shielded with hedge and very, very mature evergreen screening. So I don't think that anyone on Scuttle Hill will ever see this tennis court as long as those improvements remain in front to shield it. The properties next to us, in terms of impact, we're surrounded by essentially our own property all the way around, except for I think one vacant lot to the north of us. We were contacted by the attorney for the owner of the vacant lot, whose question was simply, is the tennis court on my side of the property or the other side? And we deliberately placed it on the other side so that it would impact us and not him or her. So they were okay with the application. We didn't hear from any of the surrounding neighbors. The immediate community, as you're probably familiar with, is we have the car doctor sort of across the street from us, and we have all of the ag land and this vacant lot, and then some residential structures across the street.
Excuse me.
I'm sorry.
Ms. Sharon, did you say the car doctor was across the street, or is it on
next
the
to
same
it.
side?
Same
Oh,
side.
I'm sorry, next to it.
It's exactly, okay.
I
All right,
apologize.
Thank you.
Is that the Jehovah Witnesses across the street?
And that's exactly right.
Okay.
That's exactly right.
That's that parking lot, I assume, right?
Yeah.
That's it, absolutely. So it's a mixed neighborhood of, non-conforming commercial / public facilities and residential properties as well. With regard to the standards that the board reviews in determining whether the benefit to the applicant outweighs the detriment to the community, the 5 factors that you're looking at, the first one would be the character of the community. We would respectfully submit that this would not impact the character of the community. If you look on the aerial photo, you'll see that there are many tennis courts in the area. And so this would not be out of character with other residentially improved parcels. We also believe that the request is the minimum necessary to afford us relief. Unfortunately, we don't have a backyard, so we don't have another option except to ask for a variance in order to situate the tennis court in the front yard. The tennis court is, I think, slightly smaller than a standard court. I think we're at 55 by 110.
Standing by all
Is that-
means.
Is that about right? I'm not sure. I just
What are we gonna do?
Yeah, I don't play tennis, so I'm not sure what the standard size
People
is.
like 60 by 120.
Yeah, they like 60 by 120. But if they
Brian-
want a
Brian
variance, they're not
knows-
getting one.
That's
Brian
right.
knows
So,
well
on that
enough
size.
not to come in with anything but 55 by 110.
Got it. So he did a good job in picking out the size and preparing me for tonight. And he does apologize for not being here, but
Sure. That's
he's, you can't understand what he's saying. He's got
Yeah.
laryngitis or something. And then we also think, would respectfully argue that in terms of the magnitude of the variances, that I understand that the front yard setback variance is less than 50%. It is on the higher side at 30 feet, but it's from Scuttle Hill Road, which, as we know, is a heavily trafficked road. I don't anticipate passersby on Scuttle Hill Road being impacted by this tennis court, given the level of hedging and trees that exist on this property. I just don't think anyone is going to be able to see it.
My only question is how this house, the way it was built, how did they not exceed rear yard lot coverage?
I know.
Well, so
It's like the whole
it's-
house fills the entire rear yard.
So it's very interesting if you look at, and you don't have to because it's kind of bedtime reading, but in the packet, there are some deeds that, for the property, and the deeds require the merger of the lots. So
Okay.
this lot is actually, even though on the tax map, it has a different tax map number, it's actually physically merged with this.
Yeah, with the reserve.
With
It's
the
like a
reserve.
40-acre property, is
Okay.
the way it was marketed anyway.
Exactly.
But technically, it's...
Yeah.
So it can't be separated, in
That's
other
exactly
words.
right. It can never
So
be sold
it can't,
separately.
so in other words, there will never be another lot behind it or anything else, so.
Exactly. It'll
But the
always be
development
one
rights have been
piece.
given up for that, so the tennis court can't go back there.
That's exactly right.
Unless deer are the only ones that play.
True, very true.
But, but there's nobody else who can go back there. This is this person's property and that's it.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And as I said, we are surrounded essentially all the way around by that property, with the exception of that one vacant lot
Yeah.
next to us.
Okay. Well, I appreciate the explanation. I don't have any other questions. I don't know if any other questions, members of the board?
I do, I thought, what's the difference between, what's the, sorry,
Sure.
the distance between the proposed tennis court and the pool house? I mean, could that tennis court be moved back any further to reduce the amount of relief that's requested?
Oh, I see.
I don't see it on the survey.
I
here.
don't see it called out, and
It looks like close to, like, I would guess like between 40 and 50 feet.
40 and 50 feet.
Yeah, yeah. But
also
there's a
that
manhole.
Yeah,
Yeah.
how big that
That's,
is. but that's-
Yeah.
What's the manhole for?
It's a hole for a man. And then to crawl down.
I mean, seriously, what is it used
To
for?
get
Like
away
utilities or
When they get in trouble.
what? Does anybody know? Am I asking a stupid question?
No,
All right, okay, I'm not asking a stupid
No,
question,
I
okay.
I just don't know what would be in there.
I mean, you know, is that, because I'm kind of with Mike on this, I mean, is there any way to push it back a little bit? It's certainly worth consideration,
Even if it was back 10 feet, I think you
Yeah.
could do 10 feet without any trouble.
yeah.
Okay, I can certainly ask. I wish I knew the answer off the top of my head, but as I said, I just picked this up for Brian this afternoon, so I don't know if they've explored that option, so I'd be happy to ask them to.
Okay.
Okay, that would be helpful.
Yeah.
And what the
Thank you.
manhole does.
and what's in the manhole and what its function is.
Maybe it's a
I
drain,
believe
it
most
might
of
be.
the manholes in the city have
Yeah.
electric and stuff.
Well, I'm thinking it's utilities, yeah, it's
It might-
probably, yeah.
Or connected
And that
to
may
pool
make a
equipment.
difference, but
I've never seen it called out as a manhole. So
Yeah,
maybe
okay.
It's very
Yeah.
different.
luckily it's
Yeah.
not a woman hole.
So I'll find, yeah.
Yeah.
Person hole.
Okay,
I'll
person
find
hole.
out what is in the person hole and also
Okay.
if it's possible to.
Yes, we have to be politically correct.
If it could be, yeah, if it could be moved back to reduce the amount of,
Right.
It's,
of relief that's being requested,
Okay,
I'd like to know that, yeah.
yeah. So then the question becomes, do we want to do that in a written submission, or do we want to have the applicant, do we want to have Denise come back? I think it could be done in a written submission, that's how
I
I
do
see
too.
it. Yeah.
I think it could be done in written submission.
Okay.
And if we don't like what the written submission says,
We just,
we'll just adjourn it and.
that's all, have it
Yeah.
have it
We'll
come back.
reschedule it.
We'll reschedule
Or
it.
you could send it back with the answer and it adjusted as well, if you
Oh,
like.
very good.
Just quick, Adam,
Okay.
what are you proposing?
I
To
appreciate
move the
that.
tennis court
That, yeah, a little bit to the west.
a little bit to the west?
So
Closer-
that-
Closer to the pool?
Just
Yes,
so-
closer to the pool house,
And,
yeah.
and so that the setback relief, what is right now 90 to 60, will instead be maybe 90 to 70 if they can move
Right,
it 10 feet.
right.
90
over.
to 75,
Or
90.
Yeah.
70, oh, yeah.
Just
The tennis court's
increase
getting
that.
sunken down 3 feet, you said, right?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
No problem.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
all right.
Anybody in the audience?
Yes, or anyone in the audience who's waiting to be heard in connection with the application of Drazy's Farm LLC. This is for property located at 674 Scuttle Hall Road in Watermill. Is there anyone who is waiting to be heard on Zoom in connection with the application of Drazy's Farm LLC for property located at 674 Scuttle Hall Road in Watermill? If you're waiting to be heard on Zoom, this will be the time to let us know by raising your hand.
Yes, there is.
There is, okay. We can hear you, Kristen, we just can't see you at the moment. I don't know if you can start video.
Turn that volume up.
There we go, we can see you now.
Great, wasn't planning on that. I just wanted to comment, thank you for
No, no problem. Kristen, I just have to swear you in unless you're an attorney.
the question that you had regarding the
Wait.
for the pool house.
Kristen?
Kristen, 1 second.
Yeah,
Kristen, I just have to swear you in unless you're a lawyer, unless you're an attorney. You're not. Okay, so if you can just state your name and address for the record, please? Okay, and do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Okay, thank you. If you could not give us your testimony.
So the manhole cover there in question is, there's both access to the septic for the pool house. So that cannot be moved further to the west. It's right up against the line of having access to that septic area. Answer the question that was raised by the board, and then directly behind the board, between the board and car doctor on the southern side is the electrical service for the entire house and pool house.
Mm-hmm.
So it's sandwiched in a very tight area, and there is not really even a few feet to move it to the west.
okay, that's helpful.
It's helpful.
What was her relation to the property?
She is an agent for the owner, so she's been working on the project.
Okay, no, I didn't hear what she said, okay. I didn't know if she was the owner or not.
It would be helpful if that was submitted as a written comment.
writing?
Yes.
Yep, yep.
So I think if you could submit that as a written comment for our consideration.
Okay. All right, thank you. Anything else you wanted to add? Okay, very good, thank you. Have a good rest of your night. Okay, is there anyone else on Zoom, waiting to be heard on Zoom in connection with the application of Drazy's Farm LLC?
No one else on Zoom.
No one else, okay. If not, Helen, it is yours.
I visited the property. I have no problem with tennis court being exactly where it is. So, but there are people on board, when it's
consent form.
Second.
Third.
Okay, Ms. Burgess. Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Mr. Macedonio.
Aye.
Mr. Tudhill.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thanks so much, Denise.
Thank you.
I'm so sorry, I just couldn't hear exactly what you said.
Yes.
Written submissions by 10/21.
Yep.
Open for decision on 11/3.
11-3.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
So just have it put in writing the manhole cover and utilities and why it would impact it moving it.
Yep.
Very good, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you, you as well.
Thank you.
Take care.
You too.
That was a good pinch hit.
Yes.
I'm going to recall Gary
So Brian would have done better.
Podhazer.
Yeah, I hope you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Guy, all right, still there?
Okay, how are we doing?
I'm doing fine. Mr. Podhazer is driving right now, and he was wondering if I got him on the phone and put him on speaker with the microphone, if that would work.
Sure.
Yes?
Yeah, I don't know.
Is that okay?
That's fine.
Yep.
So Michael can yell at him.
I was just setting him up for Keith, but he seems to take his nice pills today or something. I'm just wondering why we gave bocce court to the county, only county on the board.
Yes, Gary, you are on speaker, and you're in front of the board. Do you want to put the speaker up?
It's, where's the microphone right there?
I clicked the resume, I'm driving.
Okay.
Okay.
That's great. We just greatly appreciate your calling in. I just have to, sorry, we're having a little feedback. I just have to swear you in. Can you state your name and address for the record, please?
Yes, Gary Podhazer, 1100 Maxwell Lane, Hoboken, New Jersey, 07030.
Okay, and do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do, sir.
Okay, Gary, well, thank you very much. Basically, what we were looking to do is to ask you if you could tell us how it all came about that the bocce court was constructed on the property without permits.
Because I was advised that all we needed, I think the landscape also thought we needed to be 10 feet away from my property line. I think what it came out to be is it's 20 feet, correct?
Apparently, yeah, it's supposed to be 20 feet, and apparently it was built, looks like 11.3 feet. So
Right, so there's no intention to go around any permitting process or anything else. He was under the impression, and I was under the impression from them, that it was 10 feet and everything was fine because it was within the 10 feet. And it wasn't until everything came about that we found out it was 20 feet.
Okay.
Is your landscaper a professional out here?
Oh, yes, yes. Rado
And-
Landscaping's been
I
big,
think Jay
yes.
Random Landscaping, I think, submitted the cost.
Yeah.
so
Oh,
That's
okay.
Uh,
what put the court in.
Well, you can
Yeah.
tell them that they gave you bad
There was no-
information.
Truthfully, there was no intention to go around any permitting process. I apologize. Both on his end and our end, on my end.
Okay, no, and we appreciate that, but Gary, just so you understand, and I explained this to Michelle, earlier, when we have as-built structures, we do want to understand how they went up without permits. That's the reason
No,
for the
I-
question. Yeah,
No, I appreciate that. I respect that for the town. I think it's great for us, quite frankly.
okay, all right, well, thank you. Are there any other questions or members of the board of Gary? Okay, if not, Gary, thank you very much for calling in. We greatly appreciate it.
Drive safely.
We appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Nope.
Thanks for arranging it, Michelle.
You're welcome. Thank you, Gary. Talk to you soon.
Okay, thank you.
Hands free.
Okay, so we have an explanation. And with that explanation, I would say, unless we have anything else, Bob, it's yours.
Well, wait a second, maybe we should hold this open so that the landscaping company come in and explain to us why they gave him the wrong information.
Do you want Jay Rado? Okay.
Well,
I can get
I'm not
them on
saying
the
that
phone,
I'm gonna
too.
get, another three
If you want to
votes
put
on
something
it.
in writing, we'll hold it open for written submissions for the landscape guy. That's it. I'm fine with that.
In other
Okay.
words, he should respond to our question as part of the written submissions, so that
Why
we
he
can
thought it
then
was 10
act on
feet
it.
and not-
He thought it was 10 feet. I mean, he's
I
a
think that's a
professional, he's a
fair one.
landscaper.
I think
He
that's a
should
fair
know
way
this
to
stuff.
do
He
it.
shouldn't be,
Yes, he is. He's very good.
and he
Yeah.
should not be telling homeowners that
10
it's
feet.
10 feet, and then if that had to be moved, Mr. Podheiser would probably go to him and have him pay for it.
Yeah, all right, so I
And-
think
and
it's a
you
good
know-
explanation as a written
Yeah,
submission.
and when it's someone who's a professional in the business,
Yeah.
who a property owner relies
We
upon
expect more of
to
them.
give information, that kind of, is very important for us to know that, when it's somebody in the business who's giving a property owner advice that is not
Yeah.
apparently accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah, yep, so.
And I just want to say
It's
one thing, I
not
think before we
just okay.
closed earlier, I think there might have been somebody wanting to speak.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I thought I heard
Anybody-
somebody from the background now.
Well, I will ask.
Oh,
Okay.
is this young lady here? Is that you?
Said no.
Okay.
Oh, all right.
Okay. All right. So, just wanted to ask if there is anyone who is waiting to be heard on Zoom in connection with the application of Podheiser. This is for property located at 9 Sunset Avenue in East Quogue. If you are waiting to be heard, this would be the time to let us know by raising your hand. No one on Zoom.
Okay, I thought I heard that earlier.
Okay.
Okay.
If not, Bob, it is
All right,
yours.
so move to
Thanks so
close,
much.
Hold open for written submissions on, to 1021 with a decision on 11/3.
Second.
By 10:21,
1021 written submissions from the landscaper.
11/3.
Decision on 11/3.
Good decision. Yep. Okay.
And you don't have to be here that night, you know that.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. Mr. Macedonio.
Aye.
Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess. Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Mr. Tudhill.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you so much, Michelle,
so
and I
much.
greatly appreciate your getting him on the
No,
phone
you're
for us.
welcome. Have a great evening.
Okay, you as well.
Okay, item 8 on the agenda, this is an amended decision. 110 Gaia LLC, 110 Gaia Road in Bridgehampton, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-49-1-3.3. On September 1, 2022, by decision number D-022093, this board granted variances for a proposed sunken and screened 55 by 110 tennis court located within the required minimum side yard for the principal building, and also granted variances to legalize an existing shed located within the required minimum side yard and the total required side yard for the principal building. This decision has been being amended to correct the Scrivener's error, to wit, the date of the survey.
Okay, I have an amended decision in the application or the matter of 110 Geyer LLC. On September 1st, 2022, this board, by decision number D-022093, granted variances for a proposed sunken and screened 55 by 110-foot tennis court and existing shed. This decision, however, did not refer to the correct date on the survey. Therefore, decision number D-022093 is hereby amended to refer to the survey prepared by Stephen Barilski, surveyor, last revised August 8th, 2022. All other provisions and conditions of decision number D-022093 remain in full force and effect.
Second.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess. Mr. Tudhill.
Aye.
Mr. Macedonio.
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
1 second, you know what? I was recused from that.
Oh, okay.
So I
Then
don't
change
know
your
if
vote.
that's valid, so
Okay,
I'm going to...
then change your vote to abstain.
Abstain,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
All right, so we're...
I'll second.
You know what, let's just do the vote again.
Okay.
Okay, so first of all, we'll make a motion
Strike that.
to withdraw the vote that was, took place. Do we have a second?
My apologies.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now, I had read the amended decision, and we're redoing the vote.
Current seconded.
Okay, Mr. Macedonio.
Aye.
Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Mr. Tudhill.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess. I can't hear you, Ellen.
Alan?
Aye, okay. Mr. Daly recuses himself, and so abstains, and chair votes aye.
I apologize.
Okay, no problem. Thank you for letting us know. All right, next I have some decisions, starting with the decision on the matter of the application of Paul Chesbro for property located at Suffolk County Tax Map Number 98818.1. This application is for property located at 28 Hildreth Avenue, Bridgehampton. The applicant here requests variances in connection with a detached garage with office on a lot burdened by 2 front yards. This board finds that the application passes the standards set forth in New York State Town Law and the Town Code. Therefore, this board grants relief from the following provisions of the Town Code for a proposed detached garage with office on a non-conforming lot. 1. Town Code 33011, Residence Districts Table of Dimensional Regulations, for an accessory distance from street setback front yard of 20 feet where 50 feet is required. And 2, Town Code 33083C yards and Town Code 33076D, placement of accessory buildings, structures, and uses in all districts, to allow the proposed garage with office to be located within the required front yard for the principal building, as shown on the survey prepared by Robert A. Smith of Squires, Holden, Weisenbacher, and Smith, last revised September 8, 2022, and the plans prepared by Blake McCoy, architect, dated March 8, 2022. This decision is conditioned upon there being no cooking or sleeping in the detached garage with office, and that the screening existing on the premises, as shown on the survey, is maintained by the applicant and all successors in interest. This decision is also subject to such other conditions and permits as applicant has already acquired or may otherwise have to acquire for final approval of the subject premises, including the removal of the shed prior to the issuance of a certificate for the detached garage with office.
Second.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Mr. Tudhill.
Aye.
Mr. Macedonio.
Aye.
Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess. Chair votes aye. I next have a decision on the matter of the application of Kai Sturman and Mary T. Ryan for property located at Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-122-328. This application is for property located at 77 Reeves Bay Trail, Flanders. The applicant here requests variances in connection with a proposed two-story dwelling on a non-conforming lot burdened by wetlands. After revising the plans to reduce the pyramid encroachment by approximately 1,000 cubic feet, this board finds that the application passes the standards set forth in New York State Town Law and the Town Code. Therefore, this board grants relief from the following provisions of the Town Code for a proposed two-story dwelling on a non-conforming lot. 1. Town Code 33084D, pyramid height, for a proposed encroachment in the amount of 3,973.933 cubic feet, 2,033.90 cubic feet on the east side, and 1,940.03 cubic feet on the west side. And 2. Town Code 33011, Residence District's Table of Dimensional Regulations, for a required minimum side yard setback of 10.4 feet on the west side of the property, and a total side yard setback of 21.8 feet, where 30 feet is required, and a rear yard setback of 35 feet to the dwelling, and a rear yard setback of 31.1 feet, where 50 feet is required to the proposed roof over step. This board also grants relief from Town Code Section 33097, Supplemental Regulations for Private Garages and Off-Street Parking in Residence Districts, for a total of 5 parking spaces on the property where 3 parking spaces are permitted. These variances are granted for structures as shown on the survey prepared by Gary Benz, surveyor, last revised April 12, 2022, and the plans and elevations prepared by Brendan Maloney of Draft Design Architecture and Interiors, last dated July 19, 2022. The grant of the foregoing relief is subject to such other conditions and permits as applicant has already acquired or may otherwise have to acquire for final approval of the subject premises.
Second.
Mr. Tudhill.
Aye.
Mr. Macedonio.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess. Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. I next have a decision in the matter of the application of Anthony Fusco for property located at Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-366-1-2.5. This application is for property located at 19 Dock Road, Remsenburg. The applicant here requests variances to convert an existing dwelling into an accessory apartment and construct a new dwelling. At the board's request, applicant modified the proposed setback of the new dwelling to be in line with the existing dwelling to be converted into the apartment. This board finds that the application passes the standards set forth in New York State Town Law and the Town Code. Therefore, this board stipulates that the existing home will be recognized as an accessory apartment and grants relief on the following provisions of the Town Code to allow for the conversion of the existing dwelling to an accessory apartment. 33011, special standards for an accessory distance from street setback, front yard setback of 41.3 feet where 90 feet is required, and an accessory side yard setback of 20.5 feet where 30 feet is required. 2. Town Code 33083C, yards, and 33076D, placement of accessory buildings, structures, and uses in all districts, to allow an accessory building to be located within the minimum required side yard for the principal building. And 3, Town Code 33011.2F, special standards as follows. A principal front yard setback of 41.3 feet where 56 feet is required, 70% of the required 80 feet. An accessory distance of street setback front yard of 41.3 feet where 63 feet is required, 70% of the required 90 feet. And an accessory side yard setback of 20.5 feet where 21 feet is required, 70% of the required 30 feet. This board also grants relief from Town Code 33011, Residential Districts Table of Dimensional Regulations, for a principal front yard setback of 41.3 feet, where 80 feet is required for a proposed two-story dwelling. These variances are granted for structures as shown on the survey prepared by Robert Smith of Squires, Holden, Weisenbacher, and Smith, last revised September 16, 2022, and the plans prepared by William Frederick Hine, dated August 17, 2022. This decision is subject to such other conditions and permits as applicant has already acquired or may otherwise have to acquire for final approval of the subject premises, including but not limited to an accessory apartment application form.
Second.
Mrs. Tudhill.
Aye.
Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Mr. Macedonio.
Aye.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess. Chair votes aye. Last decision I have for tonight is on the application of Douglas Warner. This is for property located at Suffolk County Tax Map Number 977-325. This application is for property located at 30 Straight Path, North Sea. The applicant here requests variances to construct a detached accessory apartment. This board finds that the application passes the standards set forth in New York State Town Law and the Town Code. Therefore, this board grants relief from Town Code 330.11.2 Special Standards for a proposed accessory apartment. 1, to allow an accessory apartment to be located on a lot that is less than 20,000 square feet. 2, for a lot area of 19,702 square feet where 48,000 square feet is required, 80% of 60,000 square feet. 3, a lot width of 100 feet where a minimum of 105 feet is required, 70% of the required 150 feet. 4, a principal front yard setback of 40.7 feet where 56 feet is required, 70% of the required 80 feet. And 5, a principal total side yard total of 40.1 feet where 45.5 feet is required, 70% of the required 65 feet. For structures as shown on the survey prepared by Robert A. Smith of Squires, Holden, Weisenbacher, and Smith, last revised August 15, 2022, and the plans and elevations prepared by Michael Behringer of WJS Designs dated August 1st, 2022. This decision is subject to such other conditions and permits as applicant has already acquired or may otherwise have to acquire for final approval of the subject premises, including, but not limited to, an accessory apartment application form and the removal or legalization of the outdoor shower located at the rear of the dwelling prior to the issuance of any certificates for the accessory apartment.
Second.
Mrs. Macedonio.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess. Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Mr. Tudhill.
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
I have two.
Okay.
Do you have any more, Adam?
Nope.
That's it.
Okay, I have two. I have a decision in the matter of the application of Howard and Jennifer Hyman, located at 349 Cobb Road in Watermill. This Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-133-2-24. Applicant requested relief from the Town Code for the proposed connection of a detached accessory building to become part of the principal building on a non-conforming lot. At the public hearing, testimony was taken that a roofed screened-in area connected the principal building to the pool house, and the applicants proposed to convert the screen porch into a habitable area, thus making the pool house part of the residence. The conversion of the screen porch and the pool house will have no impact as the existing screen porch is already roofed. Therefore, the board finds that the applicant has met the 5-part test set forth in the Town Code and New York State Town Law, and it grants relief from Town Code Section 330-11, Residential Districts Table of Dimensional Regulations, for the proposed connection of a detached accessory building to become part of the principal building on a non-conforming lot. 1, a principal rear yard setback of 23.4 feet where 60 feet is permitted. And 2, a principal minimum required side yard setback of 22.3 feet where 25 feet is required, as shown on the survey prepared by John Borilski of Borilski Land Surveying, last revised March 17, 2022, and plans prepared by Mark C. Matthews, Architect, PC, dated March 25, 2022, and incorporated herein. Grant of the foregoing relief is subject to the conditions of such other permits as applicant has heretofore acquired or may otherwise be necessary for final approval, including the legalization or removal of the outdoor barbecue and covered porch on the north side of the property prior to the issuance of any certificates for the proposed connection.
Second.
Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess. Mr. Macedonio.
Aye.
Mr. Tudhill.
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
I also have a decision in the matter of the application of Scott Schlachter, 7 Sanford Court, Noyak, New York, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-24-1-49. Applicant requests relief from provisions of the Town Code for a proposed second-story deck on a non-conforming lot. This applicant was reopened to take additional testimony recently, and the board was reminded that of the proposal, and the testimony presented that the pyramid encroachment was calculated incorrectly, and it was ultimately 451.25 cubic feet and not the 112 cubic feet that was initially advertised. The applicant also was willing to provide screening as requested by the neighbor. The board finds that this application meets the 5-part test under Town Code and New York State law. Therefore, the board grants relief for the proposed second-story deck from Town Code 1, Section 330-115D3 continuance. I, for a principal front yard setback of 44.6 feet where 50 feet is permitted, and 2I, a principal minimum side yard setback of 14.6 feet where 15 feet is permitted, and 2, Section 330-84D pyramid for an encroachment on the north side of the property of 451.25 cubic feet, as shown on the survey prepared by Michael K. Wicks, Land Surveying, revised June 27, 2022, and the plans and elevations prepared by Harold Gebhard, architect, dated August 29, 2022. The granting of these variances is conditioned on the installation and maintenance by applicant and any future property owner of vegetative screening of evergreen trees along the center half of the northern side property line. Grant of the foregoing relief is subject to the conditions of such other permits as applicant has heretofore acquired or may otherwise be necessary for final approval of the second-story deck.
Second.
Ms. Kern.
Aye.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Mr. Macedonio.
Aye.
Mr. Tudhill.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion to close.
Motion to close.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are closed. Thank you.